Merry Christmas, John.
Merry Christmas to you, Drew, and to everybody listening.
Yeah. Merry Christmas to you, watching, listening. It's the
You.
three of us. You, John, me.
Yeah. And then you. Yeah. Yeah.
This is In the Lab, presented by Xfinity. This is a fun one, John. Texans are division champs. Division champs.
Division champs.
Last week, you and I, we were prescient. We talked about, hey, if the Texans win on Sunday, it's going to be because this guy was a cream of the crop award winner. And I said, I think it's going to be because of Derek Stingley.
That's right.
Boy, didn't I look smart. But listen, it was an obvious choice, and he more than delivered the goods. 2 TFLs, the 2 fourth quarter interceptions. And man, we all know the one that closed out the game, but that other one, the first one,
textbook.
And it was just as important because that was like the 13th play of that drive, and they're marching down the field. Imagine if they get in the end zone, how deflating that feels, how much that changes the tenor and the tone of the game. Derek Stingley, monstrous. So the Texans move on in that one. And before we move on to talk about this matchup with the Chiefs, I just want to give them a shout out because we haven't heard much about it. Yes, the Texans special teams pulls off that awesome fake punt. I love fake punts. It worked out great. You and I chit-chatted on Saturday during the Navy-Army game about that one. But not getting a lot of pub. Tank Dell, outstanding on punt.
Yep.
Outstanding.
Certainly was.
He averaged 15 per. He had 3. So he really moved you forward 15 yards every time he touched the ball on a punt and helped you out with field position. Punt returns this season for the Texans have been pretty good.
Yeah.
Punting, Tommy Rockets, been excellent. I mean, he's over 50% as far as getting his punts downed inside the opponent's 20.
Yep.
Brian Anger did that here a couple years back in 19. He was outstanding. Maybe it was 19. I think he had the franchise record at that time. At least going into last week, Townsend was even better than what Anger was doing. So the punt game, both punting and receiving and handling gunners, both sides of the ball, been really big. And D'Amico Ryans even talked about it in his mic'd up, video that's up on HoustonTexans.com. He's like, "Hey, good job on the gunners." Like this has been fantastic by Frank Ross and company.
It was almost a perfect game.
Yeah,
almost.
Except for the penalty. Yeah,
except for the penalty that ended up costing you 3 points. But other than that, they were tremendous. The special teams were unbelievable. The execution on the fake punt.
Love that.
I know a lot of times you see a fake punt and it's like just the way it's designed, you catch them off guard, all that kind of stuff. Miami actually had punts safe on the field, and yet the players blocked it up perfectly. Linebacker Neville Hewitt, linebacker Delshon Phillips, linebacker Jake Hansen, and then Dylan Horton, defensive end, did like a pulling guard move.
Yep.
And the ball handling was great with MJ and Dare. I mean, it was tremendous. And you were the one that actually put fake punt in my head because the day before of the Army-Navy game, we're watching, and I was behind in the game, and you alerted me to a fake punt that Navy ran. I'm like, okay, thanks, Drew. You kind of blew it. I know it's coming, but then I saw it.
Had I known, I wouldn't have said it. I didn't know you were behind.
I mentioned that to Tim Settle when we interviewed of what you had said, and he's like, yeah, man, I'll handle the football.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then he told a great story about how he had kickoff returns in the NFL, which I thought was fantastic. So either way, he's got 2 kickoff returns for 20 yards, which I'm like, yeah, put that on your mantle. Either way, the special teams were fantastic. First of all, your cream of the crop being Derek Stingley, that was the perfect pick, because when you're facing Tyreek and that offense, man, it's hard to pick your corner to be the cream of the crop guy.
Yeah.
You talk about it like, man, he's got to play well to win. He's got to play well. Stingley and I played well. He was on a different planet. I mean, Tyreek had 2 catches for 36 yards. He was targeted 7 times. What I loved, Drew, about especially the first pick, first of all, the route matching and mirroring was tremendous. But Tyreek went into the slot, and when he went into the slot, Sting went with him. So everybody on the Dolphins sideline knows that's man coverage. And Tua knew it. He had to look over there and go, oh, they told me what it is. Look, it's Stingley on Tyreek. Okay, I know where I'm going with this ball. So he tries to go there, and Sting still beat it.
Yeah.
That's the thing to me. Everybody in the building knew that's man-to-man coverage. That's Tyreek Hill. He doesn't lose one-on-one. And Stingley ate him alive and then stole the ball from him on the second interception. So your use of Derek Stingley as cream of the crop was perfect. Mine was Titus Howard. And Titus came into play in a different realm. I thought facing Chop Robinson, that was going to be a tough go. But Titus was asked, move to left guard.
Yeah. Play out of position, kind of.
Play out of position. And then Blake Fisher stepping in at right tackle. And the Texans gave up the least amount of pressures, I think, all year long with 8. Now, they gave up some sacks because there was a particular stunt they were struggling with, but they only gave up 8 pressures. And I think that really helped C.J. Stroud. You could tell it helped the passing game. C.J. was very accurate with the football, and that was because he had some time to throw, got comfortable back there. And they'll clean some things up, but I think that's the offensive line going forward. So both of the guys that we chose, I didn't know that Titus was moving over to guard. But that said, that
still played
move
really well
of Titus ends up being a cream of the crop move because you needed that to happen. And you needed that group to play well. And I thought Titus more than held his own at guard and did a really good job moving over there because I think it was Nick Casario that said it and brought it to our attention. Maybe it was one of our guests. No, it was Andre Ware who said this. He not only went from right side to left side, he went from tackle to guard.
It's 2 big moves.
Those are 2 massive moves, and he handled it pretty well.
Yes. So Texans playing at the Chiefs. I think Patrick Mahomes goes.
I think he plays.
They sent Carson Wentz to the podium on Tuesday, which was like a Wednesday.
Yep.
Because the game's on Saturday, so everything's moved forward a day. But Patrick Mahomes was listed as a full participant, so they're trying to win for a lot of the same reasons that the Texans are trying to win because seeding is impacted, but also you haven't been humming at the highest level offensively, and you want to work out some kinks and get some things better. So I think he plays. Now, I could be wrong, but I think you're going to see Mahomes out there and see Mahomes.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely 1,000% true. I mean, that's what I'm expecting. Now, as you do every single week, and maybe you spend a little bit more time on Carson Wentz because he did have to go into last week's game.
Yeah,
you probably will spend a little bit more time on a short week preparing for Carson Wentz, but the bulk of the preparation is going to be, I'm with you, Patrick Mahomes is going to play in this game. They need to win 2 out of the last 3 to keep things in their hands to end up getting that bye. Now, they'll put them at 15-2, but the Bills aren't losing again. They play the Patriots twice and the Jets once. They're not losing. So it's forcing the Chiefs to have to go in because the only loss the Chiefs have is to the Bills. So they would lose a tiebreaker if they end up tied. And the last thing you want after being the number 1 team all season basically is you get tripped up at the end with the hardest part of your schedule. And that's the tough part for the Chiefs. They play us, they play the Steelers, they play the Broncos at Denver, at Pittsburgh. That's tough. Patrick Mahomes is playing. He knows how important this one is. He wants that bye week. They know what that means to get that bye week. So he's going to play.
I'm with you. All right, let's raise a Modelo to our 8th AFC South title.
Boom.
Congrats to the Texans. That's awesome. 8 John since 2011. Nothing to sneeze at.
That's awesome.
Second fastest clinch date. The first one was the first one. In 2011, they clinched December 11th.
Oh, nice.
Week 14.
I didn't realize it was that early.
Yeah, it was very, very early.
I knew it was early, but I didn't realize, man, that's early. Wow.
So second fastest, and then they clinched it a day after this year's clinching. They clinched a day later in 2012. So let's move on to cream of the crop for this game. I know where you're going to go. I'm almost positive. So what I'm going to do is...
Oh, you do, huh?
I think I do.
Okay.
I'm going to go with our old pal, number 12, not Tom Brady, but Nico Collins.
Our number 12.
Our number 12. And before we get into Nico Collins, number 12, and why he's my cream of the crop choice, let's shout out my son, Robert Dougherty, because played his first year tackle football for the Wyoming Cowboys. They were undefeated in the regular season, got all the way to the semis, played really well. And he chose number 12 this year. And when he got his jersey at practice and had Dougherty on the back, and they had sweet white, yellow, brown, and white. Those are some awesome jerseys.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, 12, like Tom Brady. And he turned, he said, no, I chose 12 because of Nico Collins.
There you go.
So he's a big Nico Collins
That's awesome.
fan. Yeah.
That is well done, Dougherty family.
That's right.
Raising that kid right.
So I got Nico because this, I think, is an advantageous matchup for him. It's a good defense. Chiefs are a good defense, but he's going to be playing against corners who are playing out of position. I think he can do some things. I don't know that we're going to see Steven Nelson so much. He's, that's Steven Nelson.
Yeah.
Texans Steven Nelson. He's been on the practice squad. Andy Reid on Tuesday said, might not be ready quite yet.
Yeah.
So it might be like a Christmas thing for Steven Nelson. How about that? If he were to play this Saturday, his first 2 games would be against former teams.
Yeah.
Steelers, Texans, and Steelers. But it sort of sounds like he's not going to go against Texans. But if he does, what do you see? But I think I'm going to go with Nico Collins. I think Nico Collins has a big, big game. Had 2 touchdowns last week. The yards weren't voluminous, but you got to remember, who was he going against? Maybe the best corner in the game. Maybe. The best corner in the game might be on our team and Derek Stingley. But Jalen Ramsey has an argument. He can make that argument. He's always awesome. So is Patrick Surtain. But I like Stingley. I'm going to roll with Stingley. But let me see Nico Collins, cream of the crop award winner.
The cream of the crop.
Thank you, Macho Man Randy Savage. We thought we forgot to get that in, but we got it in.
We did.
But I'm going to go with Nico Collins, John. You like that? You cool with that? You okay with that?
I'm curious who you thought I was going to say.
Well, I want you to say it, and then I'll say after.
Okay, because mine is Henry To'oTo'o.
No, that's not who I thought. I did not think that.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go interior offensive line again. Because of Chris Jones being on the other side.
Offensive, so I'm going defensive. And so I'm putting.
Yeah.
Here's why I'm going Henry.
Henry's been awesome this year. He's been awesome this year.
Been fantastic this year. I saw somebody tweet, man, I can't wait till Aziz and Christian Harris are back together. I'm like, bro, one of the 3 best defensive players on this team is Henry To'oTo'o. You do not take 39 off the field. So the other day with Aziz out, Henry stepped in. Now, when Aziz was out earlier in the year with an injury, Neville Hewitt wore the green dot and was the communications piece while, Henry, played every snap, but it was Neville who wore the green dot. This past week, it was Henry wearing a green dot. So, number one, that's a huge responsibility.
Yep.
I'm watching the communication for them is very difficult at home because our fans are getting loud when they're on defense. So the communication, a lot of hand signals, a lot of hand gestures to make sure everybody's on the same page. Everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
Now in Kansas City, it's going to be a little different. Now you can communicate a little bit better. But Henry is that guy because, A, there'll be times where he's going to have to be somewhere in the vicinity of Travis Kelce, Noah Gray. And Travis Kelce's numbers may not be as voluminous as they normally are. They're still pretty damn good.
And he's still a Pro Football Hall of Famer. So
running back Isaiah Pacheco is a problem, and that's going to be Henry To'oTo'o at times to have to handle Isaiah Pacheco, not only in the run game, but in the pass game. He's obviously got to get everybody lined up. He's got to get everybody on the same page. But maybe the most important thing for Henry this week is when 15 gets out of the pocket, and he's going to get out of the pocket. I don't care what that ankle is. When he gets out of the pocket, Henry has to arrive and make Patrick Mahomes throw the football well before he wants to throw it. And that can be a problem. I think back to the playoff game in 2019.
I'd rather
our
not.
Linebackers were like, our linebackers were not as, they would run to Patrick, but they didn't get there fast enough and allowed Patrick to make some plays on the move. The Texans pass rush got Patrick to move. And the Texans pass rush has gotten Patrick to move over the years, how many times they've faced him. But when he gets out of the pocket, you can't let him, well, where am I going to throw this ball? What am I going to do? That decision has to be made right now. You have to force him into that decision. Like, oh, you can't just allow him to just like lollygag out and just keep it eyes. Henry has to be there as soon as he breaks contain and make Patrick make a decision with the football well earlier than he wants. Now, if I had to give a secondary cream of the cropper, I would say it's the safeties keeping Xavier Worthy in front.
Okay.
They did a great job of keeping the plays in front the other day. And then D'Amico ran a couple of coverages, actually one coverage that was great, that got Kalen Bullock a knockdown and then an interception that really basically he got Tua with that one. But they were able to play top down, kept everything in front. They only had one explosive play. But Mahomes is going to create explosive plays when he gets out of the pocket. I would love to see them push him left, but sometimes that's not what he wants to do. He waits for that opportunity to get out to the right where he can then throw, like a shortstop like he used to be, baseball player used to be. Henry's got to be on that. I know Christian's back. I don't know how Christian's body will respond to playing a game in 6 days after not having played all year. Hopefully he'll be okay. But I think Henry, with all the responsibility he has, wearing a green dot, and everybody communicated, then chasing after Patrick Mahomes, it's big. But Henry has elevated himself to that status on this team where he is one of the most important players on this team. You can make a case that he's one of the three most important on defense, and this is a top 3 defense in the league. He's that important to this team. So Henry To'oTo'o is my cream of the cropper for this week.
It's a great choice. Maybe the most undersung player on the entire team, but certainly on the defense, most undersung.
Yes. Yeah. With Will and with Daniil, with what Sting's doing, obviously Aziz with all the attention he got, last week with the hit on Trevor and all that kind of stuff. The rookies, Lassiter and Bullock, even they're getting a little bit of love because, everybody's doing kind of rookie write-ups and stuff.
Yeah.
Henry is definitely one that gets glossed over. It's fine. I should say it's fine. But keep missing it, folks, because he's going to keep playing well, and you're eventually going to go, hey, wait a second. Henry To'oTo'o is pretty good. Well, we've been saying that for a while, but he has been even better than good lately.
All right. Excuse me. Since you brought it up, I wasn't going to go there. Didn't even think about it. But you brought up the 2019 playoff game.
I did.
So.
I did.
This is in the lab.
Yeah.
And we dork out from time to time about certain things, and we burrow deep. Yeah. So, one moment from that game that you would like back or a do-over from the playoff game. I go first. You go second. The one I want back is it's 21-0. It's third down. The Texans, it's 3rd and long, and the Texans dump it down to Duke Johnson. He wiggles forward and gets to within a yard. I mean, if it's more than a yard, it's not by much.
Yep.
So it's 4th and 1, very deep in Kansas City Chiefs territory. You hesitate, and you wind up kicking a field goal to make it 24-0. If I could have a do-over, I would have them rush to the line, do a bootleg rollout with an option to run it and keep it and run it, or throw it to Darren Fells or somebody else underneath. I think you get a first down there, maybe even a touchdown. You push it to 28-0, and that's a lot different than what wound up happening. So, perfect world, you get the first down, and then you burn another little minute or two off the clock, and then it's at about 8-9 minutes to go in the second quarter, and you're up 28-0. The fans were booing the Chiefs. The hometown fan booing.
Big time.
Because it was, same old story. Same old story for the last few decades.
Yep.
Great season, but we crumble in the playoffs. And I think that takes over and that team doesn't move on. So that's my do-over. That's what I would like back.
So what did we start this podcast this week talking about? What units were really, really good against the Miami Dolphins that we gave a lot of credit to?
Defense and special teams.
Special teams. So you can take your pick.
And let me, before you go into it, special teams at that juncture of the game that I was talking about had blocked a punt for a touchdown. But on top of that, had been absolutely lights out in kickoff coverage.
They had recovered a Tyreek Hill fumble on a punt, too.
Yeah.
So they were killing it.
And they were kicking off short of the goal line and stopping them like in between the 10 and the 20. So it was long fields.
And then the dam broke.
Right after that field goal that I just mentioned that you took instead of going for the
But I can live with physical mistakes.
Yeah.
Like I would have loved to have stopped Mecole Hardman. I could live with a physical mistake. I could live with the physical mistake of DeAndre Carter fumble the ball.
Because he'd been outstanding that season.
Those are physical mistakes. Those things you don't want it to happen. You don't need it to happen. But the decision to fake the punt was an absolute abysmal one.
Yeah.
I'd change it. Just punt it. See if you can play defense. Now, maybe they got hot. Maybe they had found something. I don't care. But don't give them something at that point. That one I'd take back just to see, okay, we're going to make mistakes. Maybe you do stop them. Maybe it doesn't turn out to be a kickoff. Maybe you hold them to a field goal because they got to go full field. Who knows? But I can live with physical mistakes for the most part. I don't like fumbles on kickoffs, but that fake punt had no business being run. They knew exactly what was coming. Dan Sorensen ran Justin down, and ironically, now Justin's on the other side. How about that? In that 2019 against, think about 2019 for a second. You could argue that in that regular season game, who made the biggest plays in that game? Well, Justin made one defensively. Charles Omenihu made the sack right before the half that turned into a touchdown. And DeAndre Hopkins has the 4th down catch. They all wear red now.
Yeah.
So things are different. But that fake punt, just take it back.
Yeah.
Take it back. Take it back. Take it back.
If you happen to see Reed or Hopkins, give him a bro hug and say, hey, Drew says hello and misses you. So.
I will. I will tell him that for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Hey, man, we'll do this probably Monday. We might not be in this locale. You might be elsewhere. I might be elsewhere. But we're going to do one before the Ravens game. And hopefully we're revisiting how brilliant our cream of the crop choices were for the Texans and a Texans win over the Chiefs. But I love doing this. It's a lot of fun. I know I love it. I know you love it. And hopefully you there watching or listening love it as well. It's the three of us, and thank you so much. This has been In the Lab, presented by Xfinity with a heart gesture by John's hands.